The phone rang at 3:47 p.m. on what should have been an ordinary Thursday. Jennifer's voice came through the speaker with that same bright, casual tone she'd perfected over the past 6 months. "Hey babe, I've landed. Can you pick me up?" she asked cheerfully. I didn't move from my leather chair in the home office. The chair where I'd built spreadsheets for our joint financial planning, where I'd designed blueprints for our dream kitchen renovation, where I'd sat 3 weeks ago and watched my 12-year marriage crumble through text messages I was never meant to see. "Tell Derek to drop you off at your parents' house," I said, my voice steady as concrete. "I've seen everything. The private investigator sent me the full report." The silence that followed was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. Then came the sharp intake of breath that meant Jennifer's perfect lie was finally, irrevocably, dead. 12 years, that's how long we'd been married when everything ended with that phone call. We met when I was 27 and she was 25, young professionals figuring out our place in the world. I was a civil engineer with steady work and bigger ambitions. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep with a territory that kept her busy but paid well. Early on, we'd made the decision together. No kids. We wanted to focus on our careers, travel Europe every summer, enjoy our freedom as a dual-income couple. Our friends with children would look at us with envy, envious of our disposable income and spontaneous weekend trips. On paper, we had everything. The house in Millbrook Estates with the 2-car garage. Good jobs that paid 6 figures combined. Regular date nights at expensive restaurants. Annual trips to Tuscany, Portugal, Scotland. We were the couple that made childless marriage look effortless and fulfilling. Jennifer was beautiful in that effortless way. 5'6" with auburn hair that caught light perfectly, green eyes that sparkled when she laughed. She dressed like someone who understood that appearance mattered in sales, always put together, always professional. The warning signs started 8 months ago. Jennifer became more attentive to her appearance. New workout routine, new skincare regimen, clothes that showed more skin. She started carrying her phone everywhere, angling it away when she typed, claiming she was dealing with difficult clients. The distance in bed came next. We'd had a comfortable rhythm for 12 years, familiar, satisfying, intimate. Suddenly, she was too tired more often. When we did make love, she felt distant, like her mind was somewhere else. But I trusted her completely. We'd weathered job changes, relocations, family deaths. We'd built this life from nothing, 2 middle-class kids who'd created something bigger than either could have managed alone. I believed in the foundation we'd laid together. The discovery happened on a Tuesday evening 3 weeks before that airport call. Jennifer was in the shower, and I needed to check our joint calendar on her laptop. As I reached for it, a text notification popped up. D. Thompson, Regional Manager. The preview read, "Can't wait to have you in my bed again. These conferences are the only thing getting me through the week." My hands went cold. I screenshotted it with shaking fingers, then spent the next hour methodically going through her cloud backup while she hummed in the shower. What I found destroyed me. Hundreds of messages spanning 6 months. Photos of hotel rooms I'd never seen. Receipts for dinners I'd never eaten. Inside jokes about me being clueless and married to his work. Derek Thompson was her regional manager, married with 3 kids, LinkedIn photo screaming middle management smugness. The worst part wasn't the affair itself. It was how casual they were about it. How they laughed about my ignorance. Jennifer would text Derek while sitting next to me on our couch, complaining about how boring I'd become, how she deserved better than coming home to blueprints and spreadsheets. In one exchange, Derek had written, "Does he suspect anything?" Jennifer's response, "Please, Luke couldn't find a clue if it was gift-wrapped. He's so buried in work, I could bring you home for dinner and he'd probably ask if you wanted to see his latest project drawings." They'd sent laughing emojis. My dedication to our future was their private joke. That night after Jennifer fell asleep beside me, I made a decision. I wouldn't explode. I wouldn't rage. I would go darker than she'd ever imagined. I would document everything, and when the time was right, I would dismantle both their lives with surgical precision. The calls kept coming after I hung up on her. 17 missed calls. Finally, one text, "Luke, please let me explain." I deleted it without responding and poured 3 fingers of bourbon we'd been saving for our anniversary. "Tomorrow, The real work would begin. The morning after the airport call, I woke up in a house that felt like a crime scene. Jennifer's coffee mug still sat in the sink from 4 days ago, her reading glasses on the nightstand, her moisturizer on the bathroom counter. All the small artifacts of a shared life that now felt like evidence. I didn't break down. I made coffee, ate toast, and called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Then I drove across town to a strip mall office with a sign that read, Delgado Investigations, discreet, professional results. Frank Delgado was exactly what you'd expect from a retired cop turned private investigator. 50-something, gray mustache, eyes that had seen too much. His office smelled like stale coffee and disappointment. Infidelity case? He asked before I'd even sat down. 6 months, I said, sliding him a check. I need documentation. Photos, timelines, financial records, communication logs, everything that would hold up in court. Frank raised an eyebrow. Most guys want me to prove their wife isn't cheating. You're asking me to prove she is. I already know she is, I answered. I need ammunition. You're paying for the premium package, he replied. This isn't cheap. Money isn't the issue, I stated firmly. I want her destroyed. Frank had been in this business for 15 years, but something in my tone made him lean forward. Son, I've seen a lot of angry husbands. Revenge is expensive, and it doesn't always bring satisfaction. That's not your problem, I responded coldly. Your problem is getting me evidence that will hold up when this goes nuclear. Within 2 weeks, Frank delivered a manila folder thicker than our mortgage paperwork. Hotel receipts spanning 6 months. Photos of Jennifer and Derek holding hands outside restaurants. Credit card statements showing Derek had paid for everything. Time-stamped photos of them kissing in parking garages. A recording of them laughing about me being too busy with blueprints to notice anything. The most damning evidence was financial analysis. Jennifer had been using our joint credit card to buy gifts for Derek. Expensive watches, designer clothes, cologne. Over 6 months, she'd spent $8,247 of our money on her affair. Frank had traced every charge, cross-referenced every date, built an ironclad timeline of deception. While Frank gathered evidence, I executed my own strategy. I consulted with Lily White, the most ruthless divorce attorney in the city, a shark in a tailored suit with a reputation for destroying unfaithful spouses. Your case is unusual, Lily said, reviewing the evidence. Most cheating spouses are sloppy with emotions, not careful with strategy. Your wife is planning, which means you need to plan better. Lily explained the leverage I'd have. In this state, adultery doesn't dramatically affect asset division, but it influences alimony and gives you negotiating power. We don't just prove she cheated. We prove she's been systematically defrauding the marriage while planning her escape. I also made a calculated move. I opened a separate bank account and quietly transferred half our savings, $47,000 that was legally mine. I gathered financial documents, photographed valuable items, documented everything we owned together. Then I made appointments with 3 lawyers in town, not because I needed all of them, but because attorney-client privilege would prevent Jennifer from hiring them later. It was strategic warfare disguised as legal consultation. I also reached out to Derek's wife indirectly. I created an anonymous email account and sent Cassandra Thompson a single piece of evidence. A hotel receipt showing Derek's room charge on a night he'd told her he was at a conference alone, with a timestamp showing Jennifer's keycard access. I didn't include accusations, just the receipt and one line, "Thought you should know." Within a week, Derek was getting sloppy. Frank reported that Cassandra had started asking questions, checking his phone, demanding details about his travel schedule. Derek was making mistakes, forgetting cover stories, contradicting himself, acting nervous. During this entire 3-week investigation phase, Jennifer noticed nothing. She came home from business trips glowing and affectionate, bringing me gifts from cities she'd never actually visited for work. She'd curl up next to me, rest her head on my shoulder, tell me about exhausting days with difficult clients. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she said one evening, tracing patterns on my chest. "You're my rock, Luke, my constant." The irony was suffocating, but I played my part perfectly. The devoted husband, concerned about her stress, proud of her success, grateful for our stable marriage. "I love you too," I replied, kissing her head while calculating how many hours she'd spent in Derek's bed that week. Every lie she told, every fake smile, every kiss that tasted like deception, it was all evidence. She thought she was buying time to plan her escape, but she was actually giving me time to construct our prison. 3 weeks after hiring Frank, Jennifer announced her next business trip, 4 days in San Diego for a regional conference. "I'll miss you," she said, kissing me goodbye. "Have a great conference, honey," I replied. Frank was already boarding his flight. Tomorrow, Lily would file divorce papers. Jennifer's perfect lie was about to become her perfect nightmare. Jennifer left for San Diego on Tuesday morning, kissing me goodbye with lips that would be on another man within hours. The moment her car disappeared, I became someone else entirely. Phase 2 began with a phone call to Lily White. "She's gone. Execute," I said. The divorce papers Lily filed weren't ordinary. They were a surgical strike designed to destroy Jennifer's life with legal precision. I was demanding Jennifer vacate the marital home immediately, reimburse the marital estate $8,247 for funds used in her affair, cover her own legal fees due to fault-based grounds, and accept a property division heavily favoring me as the financially responsible party. The most devastating clause was Lily's masterpiece. If Jennifer contested any terms, we would submit the full evidence file, including explicit photos, text exchanges, and audio recordings, as exhibits in court proceedings, which would become public record. It was legal blackmail, perfectly crafted and absolutely devastating. While Lily filed papers, I executed Phase 2, professional destruction. Derek worked for Meridian Pharmaceuticals, a company with strict ethics policies regarding superior-subordinate relationships. I'd researched their employee handbook, corporate structure, recent legal settlements involving workplace misconduct. Derek wasn't just having an affair. He was violating federal guidelines about power dynamics in pharmaceutical sales. The anonymous complaint I filed with Meridian's HR was a work of art. I documented how Derek had used company resources to facilitate the affair. Hotel rooms booked on corporate accounts for training sessions that never happened. Company credit cards used for romantic dinners. Travel schedules manipulated for personal meetings. I attached evidence showing a pattern violating not just company policy, but federal regulations governing pharmaceutical industry conduct. Meridian's response was swift. Derek was placed on administrative leave within 48 hours while they launched a formal investigation. My complaint opened floodgates for an investigation that would destroy his career permanently. Meanwhile, Frank was in San Diego, documenting Jennifer and Derek's final romantic getaway with forensic thoroughness. Photos of them checking into the beachfront resort. Images of them holding hands on the beach, kissing in restaurants, lounging by the pool. Videos of them returning to their room with shopping bags, all purchased with Derek's corporate credit card, which would become evidence in Meridian's investigation. Frank captured something more valuable, their conversations. Using long-range audio equipment, he recorded Jennifer and Derek discussing their future over dinner on Wednesday night. "Cassandra's been asking questions," Derek said. "She found hotel receipts." "What did you tell her?" Jennifer asked, her voice tight with worry. "Company business," he replied. "But she's not buying it. She hired a private investigator." Jennifer nearly choked on her wine. "What? How do you know?" "I'm not an idiot, Jen," Derek answered. "Some guy's been following me, taking pictures, documenting my schedule. Cassandra's building a case." "If she finds out about us," Jennifer started. "She already knows," he interrupted. "Question is what she's planning." "What about us?" she asked desperately. "What are we planning?" Derek was quiet for a long moment. "Maybe we should cool things down, let the heat die down." "Cool things down?" Jennifer's voice rose. "I've been lying to my husband for 6 months, Derek. I've been planning to leave him for you, and now you want to cool things down." "I never said anything about leaving Cassandra," he replied coldly. "You assumed that." "I assumed," she shot back. "You told me you loved me. You told me I was what was missing from your life." "You are," he said dismissively. "But I have 3 kids, Jen. I can't just walk away." "So what am I supposed to do?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Go back to Luke and pretend none of this happened." "Luke is a good guy," Derek replied with a shrug. "You could do worse." Jennifer stared at him across the table. "You son of a bitch," she whispered. "You made me believe." "I never promised you anything, Jennifer," he interrupted harshly. "We both knew what this was." Jennifer stormed out, leaving Derek to pay the check. Frank followed her back to the hotel, where she spent the evening drinking wine on the balcony, crying into her phone as she left voicemails Derek didn't return. While they imploded in San Diego, I executed the final phase at home. I spent Wednesday packing Jennifer's belongings methodically. Every article of clothing, every personal item, every piece of jewelry all went into carefully labeled boxes. Clothes, shoes, personal items, bathroom supplies. I even included the lingerie she'd bought for Derek, along with printed credit card receipts. Thursday morning, I changed the locks. I canceled her access to joint bank accounts, leaving only what was legally required. I canceled her credit cards. I changed every password on shared accounts, Netflix, Amazon, utilities, insurance. I changed the Wi-Fi password and removed her devices. The most psychologically devastating move was the master bedroom. I stripped the bed we'd shared for 12 years and put on new sheets, different color, different thread count. I moved her dresser to the garage and rearranged furniture so the room no longer resembled our shared space. I installed a security camera system that would record everything, not just for legal protection, but because I wanted her humiliation documented. Every tear, every tantrum, every desperate plea would be preserved for posterity. Thursday afternoon, I received confirmation that Derek had been fired from Meridian. Their investigation uncovered not just Jennifer, but 2 other subordinates he'd had inappropriate relationships with over 5 years. Zero-tolerance policy meant immediate termination with cause. No severance, no references, no future in pharmaceutical sales. Cassandra filed for divorce that morning, armed with evidence ensuring Derek lost everything: house, savings, access to his children. Thursday evening, I received the call I'd been waiting for. Jennifer's flight would land Friday at 3:47 p.m. Derek's would land 20 minutes later. Neither knew what was waiting. At midnight, I received Jennifer's text. "Miss you, babe. Can't wait to be home. Let's open that bottle of wine we've been saving and have a date night." I walked to the wine rack, pulled out the bottle we'd bought on our honeymoon in Tuscany and poured it down the sink. Then I responded, "Sounds perfect." It was the last lie I would ever tell her. Friday, 3:47 p.m. Jennifer's voice through my phone speaker, bright and casual, completely unaware that her world was about to collapse. "Hey babe, I've landed. Can you pick me up?" she asked cheerfully. I was sitting in my leather chair, surrounded by evidence of her 6-month betrayal, holding the phone with steady hands. "Tell Derek to drop you off at your parents' house," I said calmly. "I've seen everything. The private investigator sent me the full report." The silence lasted an eternity. I could picture her standing in baggage claim, suitcase full of lingerie she'd worn for another man, her perfect lie crumbling in real time. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice cracking like ice. "Luke, what?" "6 months, Jennifer," I interrupted. "Derek Thompson, the Ritz in Miami, the beachfront hotel in San Diego, every conference that wasn't really a conference. Frank Delgado documented everything. You have 1 hour to pick up the boxes I left on the porch before I donate them to Goodwill. Your parents know you're coming. Don't contact me again except through my attorney." I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I watched her name appear 17 times over the next hour and didn't answer once. What Jennifer didn't know was that I'd called her parents the day before. Not to air dirty laundry, but to deliver a simple, devastating message. "Jennifer's been having an affair for 6 months. She'll be coming to you tomorrow when her life falls apart. I thought you deserved to know before she starts spinning her version." Jennifer's father, Robert, was a man of few words and strong principles. We'd gotten along well, 2 engineers who understood precision and planning. His response was measured and cold. "I'm sorry to hear that, Luke. Jennifer was raised better than this. She'll face the consequences of her choices." Her mother, Linda, had cried. Not for Jennifer's marriage ending, but for the shame of raising a daughter who could lie so effortlessly. "What kind of person did we raise?" she'd asked through tears. "How could she do this to you, to us?" So when Jennifer called from the airport, hysterical and desperate, she found no sympathy waiting. Her father told her coldly to come home and explain yourself, while her mother wept in the background. Meanwhile, Derek was dealing with his own crisis. Cassandra had confronted him that morning with printed text messages, hotel receipts, and photographs. She'd been planning her own strategy for weeks, gathering evidence while maintaining the facade of an unsuspecting wife. When Derek's plane landed, he found divorce papers waiting along with a restraining order preventing him from returning home or contacting their children without supervision. Derek called Jennifer from the airport in panic. "Jen, we need to stop talking," he said desperately. "Cassandra knows everything. She's talking. Gee, the kids, the house, everything. My lawyer says any contact between us will hurt my case." "Your case?" Jennifer replied, her voice rising to a shriek. "What about my case? What about us?" "There is no us," he answered harshly. "There never was an us. This was just fun. I thought you understood that." He hung up on her. Derek had made his choice, his children, and whatever life he could salvage over the woman who'd blown up her marriage for him. Jennifer was alone in an airport terminal, her perfect lie in ruins, with nowhere to go but back to parents she'd disappointed. I watched this unfold through Frank's final surveillance report. Jennifer taking an Uber to our house, the house we'd bought together 7 years ago, renovated with love and shared dreams. The locks were changed. Her belongings sat in neat boxes on the driveway like a yard sale of a broken life. Clothes, shoes, personal items, bathroom supplies. I'd even included a box labeled gifts for Derek, the expensive watches, cologne, and jewelry she'd bought with our money for another man. Security cameras captured Jennifer's breakdown in high definition. She pounded on the door, screaming my name, demanding I stop being ridiculous and talk to her like an adult. She tried every window, every door, even the garage code that no longer worked. Finally, she collapsed on the front steps, sobbing while neighbors watched from their windows. Inside, I sat in my office with noise-canceling headphones, watching her breakdown on my laptop screen like it was a movie. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, not regret. Just hollow acknowledgement that justice was being served with mathematical precision. Jennifer's parents arrived an hour later. Robert looked older, grayer, diminished by his daughter's actions. Linda couldn't even look at Jennifer directly. They loaded the boxes in silence while Jennifer pleaded for understanding, forgiveness, time to explain. "There's nothing to explain," Robert said finally. "You made your choice, now live with the consequences." The next morning, Saturday, Jennifer was served with divorce papers at her parents' house by a professional process server. She read them in disbelief, her coffee growing cold as reality became clear. I was demanding she vacate the marital home permanently, reimburse the marital estate for $8,247 in funds used for her affair, and cover her own legal fees. The papers included detailed financial analysis showing every charge she'd made for Derek: restaurants, hotels, gifts, clothing. Every lie itemized and priced. But the most devastating clause was the one Lily had crafted. If Jennifer contested any terms, we would submit the full evidence file as exhibits in court proceedings, becoming public record. Photos of her with Derek, recordings of their conversations, text messages discussing their love life and mocking me. All preserved forever in legal documents anyone could access. Jennifer tried desperately to hire an attorney, only to discover I'd already consulted with the 3 best divorce lawyers in the city. Attorney-client privilege prevented them from representing her. She was forced to hire a 4th-tier attorney who took one look at the evidence and immediately advised her to settle quickly and quietly. "You have no leverage," her lawyer told her bluntly. "Your husband has documented everything, positioned himself perfectly, built an airtight case. If this goes to trial, you'll be destroyed publicly and financially. Take the settlement and try to rebuild your life." Meanwhile, Derek's world continued its spectacular collapse. Meridian's investigation had uncovered a pattern of sexual misconduct spanning 5 years involving multiple subordinates. He was fired and reported to industry regulatory bodies. ensuring he'd never work in pharmaceutical sales again. His professional network evaporated overnight. Cassandra's divorce proceedings were equally brutal. Derek lost the house, half his pension, and most savings. The custody agreement gave him only supervised visitation after his children chose their mother's side. Derek went from suburban success story to unemployed pariah living in a one-bedroom apartment. Jennifer tried reaching out to Derek one final time, thinking maybe they could salvage something from the wreckage. He blocked her number. The affair that had cost her everything meant nothing to him. 3 weeks after the airport call, Jennifer sat in her childhood bedroom, a 37-year-old woman surrounded by boxes from her former life, scrolling through job postings. Her pharmaceutical sales career was over. Word had spread through the industry about her affair with a superior. Her savings were depleted from legal fees and settlement reimbursement. Her social circle had evaporated as friends chose sides and invariably chose mine. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Jennifer signed the settlement without a fight. She had no leverage and no money for protract legal battles. She walked away with significantly less than she would have received in an amicable divorce, burdened with her own legal fees and carrying the financial weight of reimbursing me for money she'd spent on Derek. Jennifer was living with her parents, commuting 2 hours each way to a job paying half her previous salary. Her pharmaceutical career was finished. Word had spread through the industry about her affair with a superior, making her unemployable with major companies. She'd gone from rising professional to cautionary tale, from suburban success story to middle-aged woman starting over with nothing. I'd heard through mutual friends that she'd lost significant weight, looked tired and hollow, that therapy had become necessity rather than choice. Her social media, once filled with carefully curated photos of our perfect life, had gone dark. The woman who'd once commanded attention at dinner parties now avoided social gatherings entirely. Derek's fall had been even more spectacular. Fired from Meridian, divorced by Cassandra, cut off from his children who chose their mother's side after learning about his affairs. He'd gone from six-figure regional manager to unemployed pariah, eventually finding work as a sales rep for a third-tier medical supply company. His professional reputation was destroyed, his family gone, his future prospects non-existent. The last I'd heard, Derek was living in a one-bedroom apartment, driving a 10-year-old Toyota instead of the BMW he'd used to impress Jennifer, spending court-mandated supervised visitation with children who barely spoke to him. Cassandra had taken him to the cleaners, and Derek had learned that affairs have consequences extending far beyond hotel rooms where they're conducted. Jennifer and Derek never spoke after that final airport phone call. The affair that had cost her everything meant nothing to him. She was just another conquest, another mistake he wanted to forget. When she'd tried reaching out during her emotional collapse, he'd blocked her number. The man she'd thought she loved, the man she'd destroyed her marriage for, had discarded her as easily as he'd discarded his wife and children. As for me, I was managing. The house felt empty. No more shared meals, no more Netflix binges, no more companionship, but it also felt clean. No more secrets, no more lies, no more wondering where she really was when she claimed to be working late. The emotional exhaustion of living with someone systematically deceiving me had lifted, replaced by quieter loneliness of solitude. Financially, I was more secure than I'd been in years. With Jennifer's income gone but also her expenses eliminated, I actually had more disposable income. The mortgage payment that had once stretched our budget was now easily manageable on my salary alone. I'd been on several dates, set up by well-meaning friends who thought I needed to get back out there. But I found myself analyzing every woman for signs of deception, every phone call for hidden meanings, every smile for calculated manipulation. The damage Jennifer had done extended beyond our marriage. She'd poisoned my ability to trust easily, to love without reservation. Most nights I sat in the same office chair where I'd taken that call from the airport, looking out at the same view but seeing it through different eyes. The life I'd planned with Jennifer, growing old together, traveling, maybe getting a dog, was gone. In its place was something smaller, quieter, more solitary, but also more honest. I didn't regret what I'd done. Jennifer had made her choice when she decided to have an affair instead of asking for divorce, when she chose to spend our money on another man instead of being honest about her unhappiness. I'd simply responded to her choices with choices of my own. The mutual friends who'd once envied our perfect marriage now looked at me with respect and pity. They admired how I'd handled the situation, dignified, strategic, legally sound, but they also saw the cost. I'd won, but I'd won alone. I'd gotten justice, but justice doesn't keep you warm at night. On the anniversary of that airport phone call, I went to dinner alone at the expensive restaurant where Jennifer and I had celebrated our last anniversary. Not for nostalgia, but for closure. I sat at a table for one, ordered the same wine we'd shared that night, and remembered the couple we'd been before her affair destroyed everything. I raised my glass to the empty chair across from me, not in memory of Jennifer, but in acknowledgement of the man I'd been before learning that love could be a lie and trust could be weaponized. To hard-won lessons, I said aloud and finished my wine. I wasn't happy, but I was free. And sometimes, in a broken world, that's the only victory you get.